If you're doing your first Ironman and worried about the swim, you're in the right place. I'll talk you through our 2-session system, which will guarantee you won't waste any valuable training time, but will get you to the start line ready to complete 3.8 kilometers feeling strong and confident. Quick warning though, some of these ideas will feel counterintuitive if you're already a strong biker or runner, but I guarantee they work. I'm going to aim this video at 2 kinds of people. Firstly, it's the complete beginner to swimming or the relatively new to swimming athlete. Maybe you've got some background already in biking and running and you want to do an Ironman and it's the swim is the thing that's holding you back. The second kind of athlete I'm going to aim this at is the athlete who's already got some experience at triathlon, but they're doing the first Ironman. There's going to be 2 kinds of sessions that we're going to cover today, but neither of them might be the one that you think that you need to do. The temptation tends to be, I need to get myself to the point I can swim 3.8 kilometers. And our brain naturally says, well, the way that that's going to work is I need to gradually increase the amount of swimming that I'm doing week on week until I get to the point I can complete 3.8K. And at that point, fantastic, I've got the endurance to do that and we can move on to the bike and the run. Now, it's tempting to think that, but it doesn't address the key problem with learning to swim, which is that swimming is a technique-limited sport rather than a fitness-limited sport. And you can increase your endurance to the point you can complete that distance with your current stroke. But in a lot of cases for people who are new to Ironman, that swim technique isn't strong enough yet, that if you just increase distance, all that's going to do is embed stroke problems that you already have. So I encourage you to think of this. In every length of front crawl that you swim, you're going to be doing somewhere around 20 strokes. You want to use every one of those strokes as a way to practice good technique. And for every stroke that you do that's practicing poor technique or incorrect technique or techniques that's got flaws in it at the moment, what you're effectively doing is embedding those flaws even deeper into your swim. So looking at it through this lens, it makes sense. What we need to do is go away and we need to try and, if you like, we need to try and break down our stroke. We need to make our stroke as technically proficient as we can before we think about adding distance. So the key part here to your Ironman progression is going to be to work on the technique of your swim before you work on the endurance. The 2 main kinds of swim sessions that are going to make your Ironman training are going to be a technique-based session and an endurance-based session. And what we want to do is we want to front load the technique work into the early days and weeks and months of your training. And we want to backload the endurance work into the last weeks and months of your training. So we spend as much time perfecting your stroke as we can. And then when we've got that stroke technically proficient, we can then embed those changes and work on improving the endurance. And typically 10 to 12 week volume build from an athlete who's been practicing technique, that's enough time to get you from a relatively short distance in the pool comfortably to be able to cover the 3.8K for race day. So that gives you a little bit of a timeline. The technique session is there entirely to improve your body position in the water, to improve your catch in the water, and to improve the amount of force that you can apply to the water. If you can get those 3 things right, you're going to be swimming much faster for the same effort. The endurance swim session, that's there entirely to improve and extend the distance that you can swim without feeling any more undue fatigue. So again, technique works there to improve how you swim. Endurance work is there to improve how long you can swim for. And we can treat those 2 things quite separately. Let's focus on what we're going to work on when we do these technique-based swim sessions. I want you to think of an analogy here of watching boats drive around in a harbour and the different shapes of boats that you're going to see. It might be that you see some short, squat fishing boats. It might be that you see some long, sleek speed boats. Those 2 boats are different shapes, and the different shapes are designed for the different speeds they go through the water. Now, when you begin swimming, you are a tugboat, you're a barge, you're a fishing vessel, you're something that's not designed to go very fast through the water. And we have to learn the body position, we have to learn the techniques in order to, if you like, shape ourselves so that that boat can then move through the water with improved hydrodynamics and you'll go faster for the same effort. So if you want to think of the same analogy here, The swimming drills in the technique sessions are the thing that's going to shape your boat into a faster and more hydrodynamic ability to move through the water. It's going to shave off the sides of the boat and make you longer and more sleek so you go through the water faster. That's exactly what's happening with your stroke, actually. You are going to get a better body position in the water, you're going to get better grip on the water, and eventually get a better engine as well. If you get into the water and you practice swimming with good technique, every single length you swim, every single stroke you take is going to embed that good technique. And unfortunately, vice versa. If you do a lot of swimming with a poor technique, it's just going to embed that into your body. And what I mean by embed that is that will start to feel normal. And so when we then try and make changes, the changes will feel abnormal and will therefore feel wrong and will feel strange. So this is a big challenge for beginner swimmers. The way that you're swimming, if you're not already a good swimmer, is probably wrong, almost certainly has stroke flaws in, but it will feel right to you. So you have to accept things are going to feel different, and they're going to feel frankly not as good in order on that pathway for you to then change and be able to become a better swimmer and a faster swimmer and a sleeker swimmer through the water. The mechanics of how you're actually going to do a technique session is really simple. We've got a whole bunch of drills we can select from. You can look at these on other videos on our channel. You are going to do what we call a half and half technique. You're either going to swim half a length of drill and finish off with half a length of swimming, or you're going to do a 50-meter session that's half drill and half full swimming. So 25 drill, 25 full swimming. And the idea is the drill will change something in the way your swim stroke feels. The swimming on the way back, you then have to try and hold on to the feeling that embedded. So if we take, for example, the fist drill, we're swimming with closed fists. That takes away the sensation of your palms, but it means you learn to feel water on your forearm. If you can then swim a length of fist drill and on the way back, you try to hold on to the feeling of what the water feels like on your forearm rather than focusing on how it feels on your palm usually, that's going to embed a really good change into your stroke. So each time you do the drill to help learn how it feels different, do the swim back to try and embed the feeling and hold on to the feeling of the thing that's changed. So that's your entire focus in your technique sessions. You're going to rotate through a series of drills. Those drills are all designed to usually just change one thing about your stroke. It might be that it changes your body position in the water. It might be that it changes your catch. It might be that it changes the front end of the pull or the back end of the push phase of the stroke. Whatever it is that it's changing, a good drill will just change one of those things. And your job is to practice the drill for either half a length or a length, and then hold on to the feeling of the thing that's changed on the way back so that you can then embed that. A really good example of this is athletes who swim with a pull buoy. Lots of swim coaches will say they don't like a pull buoy. They think it changes an athlete's body position in a negative way. And I'll agree to a point that you don't want to become completely reliant on a pull buoy. But I'll say this, a pull buoy will make the back end of you float much better. It will raise your bottom and legs up in the water. You don't want to get to the point where you do all of your swimming with a pull buoy and you become reliant on the feeling that the pull buoy should be there. But if you use it in our example we just discussed, the half and half, if you do one length with a pull buoy, take it out, and then one length back, of course you're going to find your back end isn't as floaty when you take the pull buoy away. But you then have to find a way to try and change your body position so it feels more like your body position did when you had the pull buoy in. The second kind of session that we're going to practice here that's going to help you ultimately get to the 3.8K distance is our endurance-based sessions. So we're going to do a significant amount of technique sessions and improve your stroke. And then we get to 10, 12 weeks out from your goal race. That's going to be the time when you need to start focusing on your actual swim endurance so you're comfortable and confident that you can swim the complete distance before race day. We're not going to do an endurance session in the same way you might do it on a run or on a ride. It's not going to be, initially at least, a long continuous session. What I want you to do is, however long your endurance swim is as you start out, let's say it's 1,000 meters long, instead of trying to swim for 1,000 meters without stopping, what I want you to do is break that 1,000 meters up into repeated 100-meter reps. And each 100 meters is still only going to be swum at the same pace you would be able to do a continuous 1,000. But this is very important. At the end of every 100, you're going to pause, you're going to stand up in the shallow end, you're going to take 3 really deep yoga breaths, and you're going to go again. So that has 2 effects. Firstly, it's going to make sure that you don't swim too quickly. The focus here is all on relaxation. And secondly, you're not going to end up embedding poor technique problems because you get too fatigued. That 5-second pause you get at the end of every 100 is enough for the small muscles in your shoulders and your back to reset, and then you can swim again with good technique. And you might notice this when you get in. It's very common for swimmers to say to me, the fastest 100 that I swim in an entire session is the first 100 of my warm-up, and I can't get anywhere near that time for the rest of the session, and I don't know why. That points to the fact that in new swimmers or beginner swimmers, the little muscles get tired very, very quickly and fatigue very quickly, and then we lose the ability to use them effectively. So if that's you, it's a good sign that these broken or repeated hundreds are going to be the way forward to build your endurance. So we'll do initially 1,000 meters, build to 2,000 meters worth of this. And then what you can do is start adding some sessions in where you swim repeated 200s, repeated 400s, eventually repeated 500s and repeated 1,000s. But we're going to keep it really short for the majority of your endurance swims. Remember, those breaks are really short. Your body's still going to feel this like an endurance session. You shouldn't be taking 30 seconds between hundreds. You shouldn't need to feel you need to take a break because you're swimming at your long endurance pace. They're only there so that you can get that micro break, you can recover, you can go again, and the muscles themselves will reset and you'll be able to swim holding on to better technique. If you think of the analogy here with your long bike or your long run, you're just able to go out and do a really long endurance ride for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 hours. That's because the muscular fatigue doesn't happen the same way on the bike as it does when we're in the pool. Some of you will know I talk about long runs being broken up into a 9-minute run and a 1-minute walk. And it's a similar sort of reset idea here. Focus on the fact that you don't have to do 3.8 kilometers today. You've got, as I've said, we're going to focus on a sort of 12-week period of building up your endurance here. So there's loads of time to get you to the point where you're confident in doing that. All you have to do today is the session set out in front of you today. I'd really appreciate it if you hit like and subscribe and even leave a comment. I'm happy to answer any questions and I hope it's really helped you out.